All right, let's start working on our sheet for the day. I don't know if anyone's actually here or if this is just AI note taker joining our meeting.
Oh my God. All of my fucking recorders. Sorry. Pardon.
You're right. I was like, oh, there's someone's note takers joining the meeting.
And now my audio is not working. Sorry.
There
Can
we
you hear me?
go.
There we
Yep,
go.
I can
Yeah,
hear you.
sorry. Terribly sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
If
Just
you're
all
able to
your note
kick,
takers join. Yeah.
yeah, if you're able to kick those, I think it's just we're transitioning too between different recorders and
Uh-huh.
some are on auto join, some are not. Like I'm totally okay if you're able to punt those, but
I
I don't.
I don't think I'm logged in, so they're just gonna stay here.
All right, I'm gonna go find it then.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, it's no worries. I know there's a few folks who are normally present who are not going to be present today, Terrence and Aiden, uh, to start with. So we'll see who ends up joining today. It may be a very small group.
That's all right. Yeah, I'm a little bit of a quick intro, I suppose, is I'm a co-organizer of the platform engineering technical community group. So I'm there. So I'm a maintainer like you, um, and I'll be at Maintainer Summit on Sunday,
Nice.
and all that good stuff. But I have we have an open source project that we took over from my company that we took over from SUSE called Apinio. And it's like NA9's Cloud Foundry, right? It's a Kubernetes native uh, orchestrator that uses Buildpacks. Um,
Nice.
and so we took that product over and we're getting things back up to speed. Um,
Awesome.
and uh, as a part of that, we need to get more deeply involved in the Buildpacks community, all that good
Awesome.
stuff.
I would love that.
So
Yeah.
I wanted to start showing up at least. Least
Yeah,
I
that
could
sounds
do.
great. Yeah, you need to share the link in our doc here. If you log into the doc that is a part of the meeting, it would be
Can
nice to
you
share your yeah,
can you
link into your.
repost the I know it's like I know how these things go. I joined after you probably posted the link, and so I don't see the chat.
Oh, sorry. Let me see. Here is the. Yeah, it's
Aw-
part of the meeting invite and on our community site as well. But I went ahead and put it in the meeting chat just for convenience.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Um, okay.
And I'm trying to find that. Let's see if that note taker leaves. It's
Yeah,
just
I
Loom.
DM'd one of them on accident when I went to send the link. So everyone's gonna have a DM. I don't know what they'll do with that.
I don't know either. That's funny.
Yeah, while you're figuring out your note taker stuff, I'll get into kind of the standing item agendas, just kind of for recording sake and for anyone else who's here. I know Jarek is here. Yeah, sign into the document if you can. You already gave me your introduction. I don't know if Jericho caught that or not. So maybe you want to reintroduce yourself, Colin, and tell us a little bit about who you are and why you're here.
Let's see. Yep. Typing at the same time. So, or let's say platforms, PCG. There we go. So I'm Colin Griffin. I'm a co-organizer of the Platform Engineering Technical Community Group. CNCF. So, TCGs are a new format there, formerly the Platform Engineering Working Group. I'm a founder and CEO of a company called Crumware, focused on cloud native platform and application development. That's been around for about 10 years. And then we recently just inherited or took over a project from SUSE called Apeneo. And we started using it about a year and a half ago, but Apeneo is an open source project for um, Kubernetes native containers application deployment. It uses Buildpacks, obviously, to orchestrate and build container images. Primary focus of the tool is to be a common portal interface between platform engineers and developers, so that platform engineers can provide build packs and templates and catalog items to make available to developers so the developers can self-serve and deploy and manage their application lifecycle. So lots of good things. We've been getting it up to speed and making sure that we're nice and compliant with the build pack spec. And there's some areas and challenges that we've had that we're not sure if they're solved by the build pack spec or we're doing things right or some things there, but we at least want to become more involved in the build pack community and start participating and working on build packs. So glad to be here.
Awesome.
Well,
Thanks. Let me open up these links and see if there's anything worth talking about, or if the people here who have these. So our RFCs, we've got one that needs Steward inline build pack layers. Joe Kuttner is not here today, and he looks like hasn't updated it in a good bit. I'll ping him after KubeCon and see how that's going. I don't think he's going to have time to do it before KubeCon, so we'll just check in on that later. There's nothing here that's ready for review and nothing that is open for voting. TOC update regarding graduation. Neither Terrence nor Joe are here. The last
hang
update
on
we
one second.
had is that we're
Sorry,
targeting. Oh, you're fine.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Did the RFC that you got open get closed? Maybe I missed something.
No, I don't think it's ready for voting yet. So
Oh,
we can put
okay,
it
I
on
see.
here to talk about it. Which this is the RFC for the like build pack
Relay,
rebase thing.
rebasing. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, you can keep going. I was like, wait a
Yeah,
minute, did that get
yeah,
removed?
that's good. And
Okay,
let's make sure that we have a chance to get questions answered for
yep,
Colin as well.
sounds good.
I don't have an update for the TOC other than like the last update that we had down here was that, I think we're still going for KubeCon EU is kind of what we're targeting. And so there's some behind the scenes kind of just checklist things going on, and it felt like things were moving in the right direction. So I don't have anything else to mention there. Yeah, do you want to kick us off, Colin? You said you maybe had some questions about build packs and how you're using them, and then questions about how problems could be solved that you're running into.
And I muted myself. Sorry, you can hear me okay now, right?
Yeah.
And sorry for no camera. It's like no camera on this machine at home for some reason. But next time I'll have a camera. No, I appreciate it. I won't ask a whole lot today to not take up a whole lot of time. We're learning a lot about what we can do with build packs, and I like the build pack lists kind of approach is really interesting for us to see and look at. Apenio today is meant to be Kubernetes native and is completely self-hostable. It can also run as an extension, like a UI extension for Rancher, and that's how it started. But we believe and we're excited in the direction, but we want to try to keep everything as like build pack spec focused as possible, just part of our general philosophies. As we've been using it to adopt internally, we've had some challenges, and some of it's probably related to the way we spin up staging workloads to run the build pack, to manage shared storage and caching and expose environmental variables and pass some things through. But One area specifically that I've had some challenges is, and I started a thread a few weeks ago briefly in the Buildpack channel, is really it's related to build time configurability and passing in variables that are needed at build time and like custom variables for things, like an environmental variable referenced by an npm script or something there. And um, I don't know. Part of it was maybe my confidence in not knowing if a particular variable should work or not, or is a build pack intended to allow that level of flexibility where I could just pass in any variables that I want, or is it intended to be more prescriptive? Like there were some things there that we're trying to work through that I don't necessarily have a specific question about, but I did feel like there might have been room for improvement in the documentation related to examples for things like that. Um,
Yeah.
Maybe different cases. It's just like populating different examples in different cases for.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think
I,
it's a little tough to answer because
it's
we're not
nebulous.
very prescriptive on that, right? Like I think each build pack can be as aggressive or can self-contained as they want, you know. So a lot of build packs will do things like, uh, read in the HTTP proxy stuff, right? So that any corp proxies work. So some of them will do that, some of them won't. Uh, Same thing for like npm tokens. If you got like a Heroku npm build pack versus a Paketo build pack, they
Right,
probably
right.
both read that token in, but I don't. But the documentation is going to be on the build pack, I think, right? And we don't really have a way for build packs to tell us what environment variables they may or may not read, because they could read them all. They could selectively read only some of them from the platform env. So yeah, it's probably yeah. I'm not really sure how to approach that one, but it is kind of very build pack specific. Is my short answer.
Yeah, I'm trying to find that thread
Yeah,
where
I
I can
vaguely
ask a more
remember it.
articulated question.
Yeah, yeah. I think I was in that one. Yeah.
Are you using your own build packs or Heroku or Paketo build packs? Like, what are you using?
It was like Builder Jammy full
Okay, yeah. So
and
these
those,
are
yeah.
these are Paketo build packs. Okay, yep.
Yeah, and I don't I it's honestly that's a good point. It's understanding that ecosystem. Because what I did is I ended up going back to the build pack spec to try to figure out if these options I was looking for were available or not, or how the project toml interacts with the build pack and what's opinionated or not opinionated on like the Paketo side versus the not. Was There was just a lot to figure out,
Yep.
if that made
So
sense. I know you know that.
no, that's fine. So I happen to be a maintainer for Paketo, and I could answer this question. I can answer questions about this. But I guess I should probably find the thread and chime in because I don't always follow Slack. I have a lot of Slack stuff going on. Um,
Yeah, I'm trying to find that now. Okay, there, I just found it. I wonder if I could share.
you
I
could
don't want to
just
monopolize your time either.
No, it's fine. I mean, I happy to talk about this if you Jesse and Juan are too. I don't know if you guys
Mhm.
have other
Yeah,
stuff on the
Yeah.
agenda.
yeah. And we could put the Slack in the agenda here, just for
Yeah.
future
One thing I
readers.
did want to highlight, unrelated to that stuff, you may be aware that there's going to be an addition in or planned addition in the for KubeCon EU around the next CNCF Tech Radar publication, for a platform engineering tech radar. And so we put out an initial survey to try to determine what tools people use or are interested in from a platform engineering standpoint, whether to maintain and manage its own, like the platform lifecycle, or to provide tools and capabilities to end users, um, and things that they might be interested in. And I was honestly surprised that I think Buildpacks was the second highest mention
Oh wow,
for tools people were interested in.
nice.
And so, being self-aware too, a little bit, it's like, I feel like people talk about build packs a lot, but there isn't a lot of adoption, or people actually using it. Like, I like the idea, but I'm not actually using it yet. Um, and so I thought that was a really interesting indicator, though. It sounds like a lot of people like the promise of it. And like, yeah, what is it that we have to do to try to get more people to adopt and kind of get over that hurdle was an interesting question. But
Yeah,
I thought I might
interesting.
surface that, and I would love to give you guys a chance to come talk about build packs at the community meetings, and try to do some, like, promote it a
Yeah,
little
that
bit,
would be awesome.
especially with that in mind.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely interested in that.
I did find the thread. It looks like Daniel Makusa chimed in. Is that the one we're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Hugo enable.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, I'm not quite sure. Oh, this is a node engine build pack question. Um, yeah, I mean, like Jesse was saying, like the build pack authors kind of define how you interact with the build packs with environment variables. And um,
Right.
I'm kind of new to the Node.js world, but I understand how the build packs work in general. And I think that if you're not on the Paketo Slack, you should join that. That's a great way to engage with maintainers and like have your voice heard. And obviously, we welcome contributions and pull requests. I mean, we've been doing a lot of work on switching things over to support multi-arch, which has been a long time coming.
Hmm.
We're finally wrapping all that up. So, yeah, I mean, like, I can answer specific questions, or if you want to just kind of keep the chat going on Slack, that's fine
Yeah.
too.
I guess my only question from that one was, should I be able to pass an arbitrary environmental variable into the process or not?
Yes. So it depends on how the build pack's written. Again, I'm not an expert on all the Node.js build packs, but I know like Python and Go, basically the build packs are made to be configurable through environment variables so that you can, in your CI system, say, set some environment variable and it will choose the right version of Python or Go or whatever, depending on how the authors of the build pack set it up. I think one of them was like production versus development node environment. That's a common one. Um, so
Right.
if it doesn't work that way today, it might just be because it was never a feature that like people asked for at the time when it was written. And there's no reason why we wouldn't implement it, especially if it's a beneficial thing that other users would benefit from.
For the
So
build packs that you maintain, Jericho, do you know if they um, read all environment variables, or are they reading the ones they know about?
That's what I was thinking.
Because I know for
um,
like npm, I think what we run into a lot in the Heroku side is that like folks will have their own npm like build scripts, and they expect their own environment variables to kind of be around at that
Right.
point, and so that might kind of be what we're running into here is there an environment variable to say, hey, please read all environment variables and give it to your npm process.
all right, are we talking about passing environment variables at runtime to npm
No,
or
at build
Build
time.
time.
So
during
this would
build
be
Build
time?
like an
time.
npm token. Obviously, the build pack could pull that itself, but if like it just blindly grabs all of them from platform env and gives them to the build process, is that like an option in Paketo or for Go or any of the languages?
This is a question for you or Juan. Like, I thought that when you run pack build uh, and you set environment variables, then they get passed. They're available during the build to everything, and whether or not the build packs use them is not really the point. Is that right?
I don't believe that's true. I think you have to read them from platform env. I don't think they get loaded up in the or they get loaded up in your environment, but whether you pass them down is going to be up to the build pack. Like you as the build pack, you're going to get platform env exported to you, but whether you forward those
Right.
environment variables to your sub processes is going to be on you,
Okay. Yeah.
I
Then
believe.
yeah. Go
I,
ahead.
I, I think I need to, yeah, I think I need to double check. But usually when I set up some environment variable, it's because the build packs expose that configuration. So I go to the build packs, then it says, hey, you can change my behavior with these environment variables. And then I do a pack build setting those environment variables. So it's something that the build pack it's offering to me to do something. Now, if I want some random custom environment variable that I want to get into my code, I think I might agree with Jesse. I'm not sure that it's gonna go through the whole chain. I think I will need something in the middle to read that thing and then pass through the whole process. That's what I
Yeah.
think it's happening,
Okay.
but
Yeah. Because
I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I
okay.
think we've changed this behavior at Heroku over the time. Like I think at some point, like we started our Rust build packs and they used to basically take nothing from the parent environment. And then we ran into problems like this where like, someone's passing in some environment variable you've never heard of that changes some Rust compiler flag or something, right? And so I think over time we've basically just inherited like all the configuration and make sure that we pass that down when we run into like your UV or your npm, so that we just read all the platform env and give it straight to all your sub processes. So even just depends on what language your build packs are written in and whether you by default are creating like a fresh command inherited from the parent or not. It just depends a lot on your implementation, I think.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I was stuck in this kind of limbo of like, is it my application not properly passing things to the build pack? Is it not my as a user, right? My definition or like prefixing of the variables that was proper. It was just like there were so many questions around that. But again, it kind of boiled down to like I wish in the Paketo build pack on in its documentation there was just an example or an acknowledgement of custom variables can be passed this way or not, was like the only thing that was really missing for me. And so then I wasn't sure if I even could and was still trying to chase that down.
Yeah. I think most build packs use environment variables as configuration as the way to configure them. It's not 100% consistent on all of them, but pretty much it is. That's how it works. Okay, so I don't know if I asked this the right way. If I run pack build, are you using pack build? How are you building this stuff? Are you like using a wrapper? How does it work?
It's using a wrapper. It's not specifically using pack build. And honestly, I don't know. One of my devs has been working on that. I don't know off the top of my head the exact wrapper. I think we are out of compliance by at least
Could
one
be
version.
using lifecycle directly.
Directly. Yeah.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is kind of what KPack does. If they use KPack, it's kind of like a how would you do this or it's all around
Yeah.
like traffic and stuff. So yeah.
The fun part that I know you guys know about is like I moved to use pack build locally for the testing, and then I had challenges with it's like essentially Docker and Docker, right? Like file system permission challenges. So it's like, yeah, you've heard that one before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a Windows WSL machine and I've got a Mac that I've tried it on and stuff like that. And I was just having a lot of, but that's a me problem, not a you problem.
Yeah, I mean, eventually you're going to want to move to Noble, but we don't have all languages supported at this time for Paketo, so that's something in the works. But yeah, actually, the last thing I was going to say is that if I run pack build and I don't pass environment variables, I don't expect them to be available during the build to the build packs. Is that a correct statement?
That is correct. Yeah, like
Yeah.
obviously you get the platform ones and everything, right? But like the pack's gonna like build into itself, like what platform version it's using and things like that. But
Yep.
your like host level, invars are not gonna get passed unless you pass them in through pack through like -e.
That's
So
interesting too, is if the should I be able to sorry, I'm just trying to articulate the question. If because pack build, I can specify individual environmental variable assignments, right? As a part of the like inline args.
yeah, you can do
You can do
individual or a
Right.
file with all of them listed in one.
Okay. The file, can I do yeah, I would, if the file would be a file path, so I could pre-stage. Should I expect that I can also define in parity like the name and value collections in the project toml and would still be able to access those same variables, or is that up to the build pack to how it reads the project toml?
Buildpack has no knowledge of Project Toml the
Yeah.
way that it's worded today. So passing
Okay.
pack-e with a key value pair is the same as putting in a Project Toml, because pack is actually what's implementing Project Toml. So Project
Yeah.
Toml is not part of like the core cloud native build packs like ecosystem. At the end of the day, pack, whether it got it directly from the CLI or from the Project Toml, is putting that on disk
Okay.
in the like containerization stuff for the actual like core build pack like lifecycle to execute.
Okay. So if I do add an environmental variable using pack build in the inline args, and then I move that to the project toml, I should expect they both work. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you use pack, obviously, to read that project toml.
Yeah,
Right.
like in
Right.
Heroku, we read Project Toml ourselves because we're not using pack like to do our builds
Gotcha.
internally in our system. So we basically have similar code to pack that transforms the Project Toml into lifecycle inputs.
Okay, that's super helpful.
Yeah, and I was gonna say one, like we use Pack because that's just how we started using build packs. And what we do in our CI is that we just take all the environment variables and write them to a file. Like everything in the environment, we write it to a file and then pass that directly to Pack.
Mhm.
And that way, if the build, because like we're using like pipelines that call other pipelines and people can customize them. So we basically allow people to customize anything and then pass that all the way through right to pack. So that's an approach. Like if you just take every environment variable and make it expose it to the build packs, most of them are going to be ignored except for the ones that the Paketo build packs care about. At least I'm speaking for Paketo specifically. I don't know about other build packs. So that's just an approach.
Yeah, that's super helpful.
Cool.
I think those were really the big ones that stood out to us. Is there as a like coming in as a new contributor or even from the maybe the platform space, is there a particular area of focus that would be good for someone like me to take a peek at or be aware of or come in? I mean, obviously it's like, yeah, help with documentation or something, but like technically, is there something that would be a good area for me to poke at, especially knowing the platform engineering background? Like, how can I be helpful, I guess?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it depends on kind of your platform a little bit, like what you're most interested in. We've kind of got Pack, which is sort of the CLI end user experience for like app developers. But then if you're mostly running Kubernetes, while you can use Pack, Pack is sort of expecting you to have a container D sort of target, whether that's like Podman or Docker. Then Lifecycle is sort of the core component that does the build pack platform execution. So that's what's actually like executing the build packs in order, doing the detection, doing the build, and then ultimately writing the image to your registry or to disk, right? Or to the Docker daemon, depending on like what you have configured. So those are kind of like the two of the main areas, but then we also have like KPAC, which is our K8s operator. So if there's something that you like your what was it ePin IO,
Yeah.
then they basically it sounds like you've got something similar to KPAC, where you've got a Kubernetes based platform that is producing build packs through jobs, and so it might be useful for you to kind of help look at KPAC or um, what's the other one that we have templates for? I'm blanking on the that
Hector?
other
That's
pipeline.
that's really interesting for us too, and I'll go take a look at that because we could just migrate our whole build engine over to KPAC.
Yep. So KPAC's meant to be like a continuous build operator as well. So
Mhm.
it's a Kubernetes operator that builds the images. So you can either do one-offs, like you can create a CRD that represents like a build, but you can also create like kind of a virtual CRD that is like an image and it will keep it up to date. So like when the builder gets pushed, it will rebuild it. Or if like a build pack gets updated, then the builder gets updated and then all the images based on that builder get rebuilt. So it's like a continuous delivery build system to keep your images up to date in your target registries.
Are you writing in KPAC, does it write the manifest directly to the cluster, or do we have a mechanism to choose to use something like a specific Helm chart?
Um, I think so. I think KPAC ends at publishing the images to a registry. And so I think it's kind of, I don't think it touches like your
Okay.
deployments that relate on that. So that would be up to you to like, if you want to use a floating tag, you could. Like you could have KPAC always publish the latest and then your stuff would eventually bounce. But I don't think it gets into touching anything inside of Kubernetes besides like the actual like KPAC CRDs and then it's ultimately, it's registries.
What about the service bindings?
I don't know too much about the service bindings.
But that will be on runtime, right? When you
Right.
actually want to run your application. That's another,
Correct. Yeah, sorry.
that's another area. Yeah, it's not about KPAC. KPAC is just gonna produce the application image. That's it.
Let's see.
Yeah, and you should check out, I think we have a
Yeah, I
KPAC
was just reading the documentation on KPAC concepts, and that's where I saw the service bindings.
Oh
But I
yeah,
think I just
I believe there was some.
looks legacy.
Yeah, there was some thing, and I related to probably a Spring services injection and
Oh,
stuff like
that's
that.
right. We do service bindings for
Yeah,
like build time as well. And so
yeah.
that's yeah,
Yeah,
so
and
yeah.
we would need that. But
Uh,
I guess build time maybe a little like I need a data. Man, there was this dumb project where we needed an active database at build time to do schema generation. It's like
Yeah.
the things you
Yeah, a
inherit
lot
from
of Ruby
somebody,
and
you
Rails and
know.
stuff, right? To go through
Yeah.
stuff.
okay. Yeah, I do remember that I saw that in some issues spec or whatever, but I don't know how if it's working, if it's not, if it was just an idea. But I do remember that
I think it does work. I think
Emily.
you could it's just a different way of doing like a collection of kind of settings, right? If I remember correctly, it's sort of like you could have done just an env of database URL. And maybe your Rails build pack knows to bring that in so that when you do your build, it does the schema generation like you're talking about. But you could also use service bindings, which I think was kind of an idea of like a read only sort of global platform level place to look for those sort of things instead of it being an unrelated group of invars. So I think it's kind of, yeah, but it is similar.
I think I just found in that project it used to use KPAC, but it moved to Tecton.
Tecton. Yeah. I remember
Yeah,
that.
and
Yeah. We have a pipeline YAML there that we have like a cookbook for that stuff, right? For like a trusted or an untrusted flow for Buildpacks, which uses lifecycle directly, not pack. And I don't think it handles Project Toml, so it sounds like you probably have a built on top of like a Tecton pipeline with some pre steps to do the Project Toml potentially, and then into the lifecycle
yeah, and then
execution
some of this is
phases.
from like I'm looking at the history from like 2020.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
if it is using Tecton, I mean, should I encourage moving back to KPAC? Like is which that's controversial probably, but
Well, without knowing why they moved from KPAC, it's hard to say. Like, so KPAC was recently, I say recently, like last year, I think donated to us, kind of like this was donated to you. KPAC
okay.
was not originally a Buildpacks IO project, but we have taken over maintenance and everything for it. So yeah, the history of why they moved to KPAC would be important to know because there might be gaps that still exist. So it's hard to really say for your specific use case, but they're KPAC's going to be a lot more continuous delivery focused. So if your goal is to like create builds and never touch them again, then KPAC might feel like overkill. But it also has a one shot sort of like build this thing and be done that you can use, kind of like you would like a Tecton pipeline where you say, run this one build.
Yeah, I'll try to figure out what the motivations there were. I see that there was an issue where somebody wanted to move back to KPAC, but they said it didn't support cosine, so they poo-pooed that.
Yeah, I do remember that, but I think they added some cosine features
Yeah.
at some point. I don't know, a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
But the
it does have a signing of some sort.
Yeah, and as I was looking at that, I mean, it seemed like inline build packs were really promising too, because we could honestly, I mean, if we were able to, I don't know, if we were able to compile and have like kind of build our own steps a little bit more specifically rather than relying blindly on like Builder Jammy full, it made more sense to some of our devs when we were testing it. But thinking about even the staging side and configurability, we try to push everything into Helm charts because Helm charts can be the configuration interface that the platform engineers know.
Yeah.
But we had discussed internally a build pack for compiling the Helm chart from a base and doing some things there, which would be
Joe
kind of
Kutner,
interesting.
who's not here this time, he's kind of on a path of improving inline build packs, and so there's an RFC that's open, which is the one we kind of flew past earlier that needs a steward, but inline build pack layers. Like, so he's kind of on, I think other teams similar to yours have found that inline build packs are a really nice sort of low effort, high value thing to add to language build packs and like things like that. You know, you're not going to want to install Node, you know, yourself or anything. Using a build pack to do that is probably a lot easier, but there's a lot of steps that happen that aren't that like GitHub action, right? And so inline build pack layers is a recent RFC, and that's kind of step one of, you know, however many steps it makes to make inline build packs even more of a first class citizen. Because right now they're part of Project Toml, and then the platform has to sort of materialize those down into temporary build packs. So Pack is doing this, like kind of throwing them on a file system. We do this as well on the Heroku side for our own inline build packs, and so so yeah, I think we are trying to lift that up. So it's good to hear that you like inline build packs.
Yeah, it seems to fit what developers are used to a degree, but that doesn't necessarily make it better.
Yeah, it is
I
just an
definitely want to
alternative,
acknowledge
but
that.
I think we can get them a little closer so that it's not such a huge leap when you have to eject yourself from an inline build pack to a full-on build pack. Like, you get some of the benefits of having the build pack layers be shareable and be cacheable. Like, that's the stuff we're trying to bring into inline build packs to sort of meet developers where they are a little bit better. And then if you need to get more complicated and have a lot of fallback logic, then you can eject out to a build pack and do even more.
Yeah, it's super helpful.
I put a post there for a Paketo blog about stacks and builders. Since you mentioned you're using Jammy Full, there's going to be some changes as we move to Noble. So it's worth just reading through that. And again, if you have questions or whatever, any of these Slacks are good, or the Paketo Slack. You know, we're all on all of these.
Yeah, it sounds good. And I appreciate that. I did join the Paketo Slack and I was interested in the move to Noble. So it's cool to see.
We
Cool.
do have other builder ecosystems out there as well. Heroku's out there with open source builders and open source build packs as well, just to, like, you know, apples to apples. I'm not a build pack author, so, but I do work for Heroku, so I felt like compelled to at least say that we do have our own open source build packs and builders that people love, but they're going to have different pros and cons to Paketo and different ways of working. So it's you might give it a shot and see if it does anything more or less like you want, and then also to kind of uplift Paketo as well. Like, if it does something better that you wish Paketo did, and vice versa, that, you know, we can all grow together there. So
Yeah, it sounds great. Ours is we're self-hosted first, and so the kind of the rallying cry has been like we need Heroku but self-hosted. It's kind of
yep.
fun.
Yeah, all our build backs are written in Rust, and it's been a multi-year journey, just like Paketo. And I think all Paketos are written in Go. Is that right? Or some in Bash still, Jericho? I don't remember.
It's pretty much all Go. I mean, there's
Okay.
the GitHub Actions and stuff are Bash/Go, but yeah, pretty much all Go.
Yeah, and I think both sets are now getting towards ARM 64, AMD 64, multi-arch, which is great.
Yep. Yeah.
And there are
Big
Google
projects.
Buildpacks too. I don't know where they are in their multi-arch stuff. So like Google Cloud Run uses Buildpacks or did, and maybe still does. I actually don't really know. But I think they still use this internally for a bunch of stuff. And so there's Google Buildpacks as well that you can check out.
Yep.
I'm finding we actually did remove Tecton at some point.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
it's kind of
all
like having Argo CD or something, right? Like it's a pretty big thing, and if you're just running like a few containers, it suddenly feels like a huge amount of effort, and doing all the like volume mounting and stuff, and kind of playing by their rules can make it hard to configure sometimes. But it's also something we should be better at. So like if you know if we run afoul of Tecton or whatever the latest CI/CD systems that people are deploying inside their clusters, we should, strive to make our stuff easy to configure with templates and things like that.
I have a KPAC question. Like I remember looking at KPAC and then saying this is not really what we are going to do because we're not at the point where we're trying to have, GitOps building containers automatically. So the approach we've taken is we do semantic versioning. Well, not always, but a lot of repos will do like semantic versioning, and then the containers that we built are tagged that way. And then then people go and deploy those containers. Like, how does KPAC deal with versions of containers? And, like, how does it know what tag to build for the container and all that stuff? Like, how does KPAC work with like CI/CD and like either Jenkins or, GitHub Actions?
Yeah. No one from KPAC is present on the call, but I think that you can have some tagging. There's like some tagging strategies I think built in, like
Yeah.
but like you can basically say, hey, I want to define, I forget what they call it, like a build or something, or an image, and the image could have a tag in it. So you could say, I literally want this v1 to always rebuild, and it's going to be like a floating tag at that point, right? Every time anything changes in the builders or the build packs or your code, it's going to rewrite that tag. So you could do it that way. But I do think there's also some, like, if you leave a tag off, then it can do some versioning stuff based off like the git SHA and tags and stuff like that, because it does have like knowledge of your repo. So I believe it does some stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
can it's gonna listen for changes on GitHub and
okay.
trigger if you push something there and try to rebuild your code.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. So I guess if you're going to use it, you have to be planning how you're releasing and making sure you're doing it consistently and following best practices, GitHub tags and all that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, KPAC is the core component for the VMware build service, which is KPAC in the in the heart, and then they have another stuff to have a whole solution for building images as part of the portfolio. So, but it's just that piece, right? The open source part is just for building image whenever the source code change, and that's what KPAC is doing.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Still on my list of things to go and explore, but right now it's not a priority yet. Cool. All right. I don't know if you guys want to move on to the rebase layers RFC, or if we have anything else we want to chat about. Juan, I know you joined a little bit later, but if you wanted to talk about anything
No,
specific.
the only thing I want to ask to Jesse was regarding the changes that we have in the spec that we are waiting for to be approved to move forward with the things that are pending on lifecycle and pack. So I'm not sure if we can get some eyes on that.
Yeah, I'll try to get some eyes on that. I'll try to reach out to Terrence and Joe tomorrow before they head off to KubeCon, since Buildpacks will be
Okay,
on their mind. So I will see if I can't get them to, at least merge or review, like do something with those spec changes so that we can release a new
good,
spec and
awesome.
just move forward. I don't think where our pace at this point is kind of just as they come. So I don't mind every spec release having just like one thing in it. I don't really care. Like we don't need to hold them, I don't think. So getting a review
Yeah,
and merge seems good.
Yeah. Okay, good.
I'll push on that. Yeah, this is somewhat related, I guess, right? Like this is a spec change that we would, or an RFC that should turn into spec changes that we maybe want to accomplish.
Oh, okay.
But maybe probably not in this cycle. Like we're not going to hold whatever the next platform version is on this RFC that hasn't been reviewed. It's still in a draft state.
Okay.
Yeah, where are we at with this? I haven't really looked in a bit, Jericho. Like where
I mean, you asked for more feedback,
I did.
and I reached out to Ed, but I have not heard back from him, so I don't know if he's around or whatever. But I was going to try to sync up with him and just make sure that we were both on the same page, in terms of moving forward. All right, let's see. Metadata. I mean, I think that the thing that it would be nice to accomplish is like if this RFC could accomplish the problem of dealing with vulnerabilities. But if we need to do two separate RFCs, one for
Yeah, you're talking about the life cycle
layers,
itself, right? Yeah.
yeah, and one from the launcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the part that I'm not sure. Like, did you? I assume you didn't put anything in there for the launcher, right?
I did not. I left it out. On purpose, mostly because I do think that they could be driven separately from the RFC and implementation side. Like they may play by different rules a little bit. Like I don't know if it's going to be the same mechanism underneath the covers. So I didn't want to they seem like two distinct problems that could be solved at different points in time. And so that's the main reason I didn't want to put it in this one is I don't know that we would release a I don't want to block the simpler version of like maybe auto patching lifecycle on how do build pack contributed layers work. And so I think we could solve them at the same time, and maybe it ends up being the same mechanism underneath the covers. But I didn't really want to muddy the waters anymore. But so yeah, maybe we should throw another RFC up for just like what it would look like to auto replace lifecycle.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I put a comment at the bottom of this one, and
Yeah.
maybe I can just go and copy that. Like, we don't need to read through it, but I think you're
Yeah.
right. Let's just have a separate RFC, because I feel like that's the only thing that I would want to add to this. Otherwise, if Ed doesn't have any concerns.
Yeah, because I think there's some different rules on like exactly where we would pull lifecycle from and like what versions we would like do you pull the next patch version? What if there's a new major version? Like do you have to do any semantic versioning sort of like stuff, or do you need to give it an image that you wanted to just like yoink lifecycle off of and put in? Like I'm not sure. Like the mechanism to sort of patch lifecycle could be different depending on what you're after.
Yeah. I mean, if we go down this route where we have a config, I guess we could just extend the config, for lifecycle, like I'm suggesting.
Yeah.
But just like you said, have a separate RFC where we talk about it and figure out how to approach it. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I mean, mainly I just wanted to bring this up and see if there was any concerns. It sounds like no one's really voicing any other concerns. So, maybe we can just help it move forward. That would be great.
Yeah. Makes sense to me. Yeah, I still like the idea of it. I don't know what the platform adoption would look for something like this. So it'd be interesting to have other folks take a peek. Colin, as an adopter of a new platform, is probably one worth reading to see whether this would be of any interest to your crew over there.
Yeah, honestly, I think it definitely is, if I'm understanding it correctly.
Yeah.
I mean, the TLDR is that if you have CVEs in build pack layers that you need to go and then rebuild, this is aimed to help solve that or resolve that.
Yeah, this is my question that I hadn't asked yet because it's a rabbit hole is who's offering secure build packs? Is anybody? And the answer is like, no. So it was an area that we've been looking at investing into or developing into. Yeah, we need it for FedRAMP and some other stuff. So cool to see this just serendipitous a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we went down the Buildpacks path. It was around FedRAMP also. Um, that's what actually led us to start using Buildpacks. And I think when you say no one's really doing secure Buildpacks, I guess I don't really understand what you mean by that. Like, what does that mean?
It's I guess unless you're Broadcom. So maybe the Paketo, but you're not seeing, maybe we are not seeing like a Chain Guard or Rapid Fort, the Docker Hub secure images. I'm not really seeing any build packs being offered in those secure image repositories,
Okay.
if that makes sense. It's like on the commercial side, a lot of people are chasing those secure images collections, and we just haven't seen it come up. The build
Yeah.
pack specifically, I've had some people say we can't use build packs because of that, but I think it's a fundamental misunderstanding, or everyone just wants to throat to choke.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's not really the same. It's not apples to apples. It's like
Right,
the
right,
build pack is just like a Docker run statement. It's like,
right, right. And then you have to explain that. But like
Yeah,
one of
it's
the
like each line
challenges
is a
is,
Docker file. Yeah.
yeah, one of the challenges is that the secure image sources are charging um, per base image. And so you could argue that one build pack, if it pulls many different base images from many different places, or like uses Node and Ruby and Python and whatever, then like a customer is going to have to purchase every one of those base images to get the kind of the derivative security from that, or not actual security, but the compliance of saying we've got all of these. So one build pack could be $5 million a year in subscriptions versus, if it's all baked in somehow and perceived as one image. Stuff's above my pay grade. It's just funny what people chase.
It is interesting because yeah, like Paketo has full offline build packs, right? They have the ability to do offline build packs. Where like
Right.
I think Heroku does, like we basically redistribute and host, I think, the runtimes that we support. So like we're not always going out to Ruby gems to get whatever it is sometimes, right? We are for like packages, but for the runtimes like the JDKs and stuff like that, I think we either compile our own or host them depending on Salesforce rules and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which adds a layer of security, but is still ultimately the same runtime that you would get 9 times out of 10. But that extra one time that it got popped, I guess, is what people are trying to pay for.
I think that whole business is a racket, but sometimes it pays the bills.
yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, if you have thoughts on any of that, like I said, feel free to chime in on Slack. Ultimately, we're all working towards the same goals. So,
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, I still have one thing we didn't answer in this RFC that I'm interested in understanding more thoughts on is around distribution. Because we've really come at it from like a platform side. Like, here's how a Heroku or here's how a Broadcom would patch, thousands of images inside their, customer runtimes to, patch some Nginx vulnerability or something. But we didn't really talk about what does it look like for the people using GitHub Actions? How do they get the trusted patched version of their next Nginx binary without having to do a full rebuild? Or is that a use case we're just sort of not dealing with, or do we want them to do a rebuild?
Well, you've
So-
got the opinions too. I like what Jericho was talking about with the semantic versioning and the version pinning, and you get people that are like, I'm never going to pull anything from latest, or you get people that I'm always going to tag a hash version, or I'm always going to tag a semantic version, or I had a customer a couple of months ago who refused to adopt because their internal build patterns used date time as the tag for their base images, and we're trying to move them to semantic versioning, you know, as a, hey, at least it communicates what freaking version this is, rather than going and guessing. But yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah. Um, I don't want to say like my idea is the best way to go, but to me, um, I feel like the way this RFC is written is ideal because it doesn't require like the platform to go and implement and build all this distribution of images and all this stuff. It really puts it on the person who's patching or person who's interested in patching to go and do it. And I think that if we start from that perspective, then we'll learn some stuff along the way and maybe have some ideas about how to make this like a first class citizen and distribute patches a certain way. But I feel like if we try to engineer it a lot up front, like probably will be good, but we might not get it perfectly the first go around. So I don't know. I feel like, you know, if this were available to me, I would be very happy with it, and I would just go write a script that would go and build a couple of golden images, as you will, and then just patch from there and call it a day. You know, it wouldn't be a big deal.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
mean, that's
I think
my
that's
two
fair.
cents.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just, it's just trying to figure out whether that's, if everyone's on the same page. Like, I think obviously I wrote it. So I wrote it this way, basically for exactly the reasons that you're saying. You know, it just makes sense to me to kind of come at this as an optional platform. You know, whoever's doing the patching does most of the work. And also that sort of gets us out of the trust story of like, I don't have to have Buildpacks registry doesn't have to have golden images for all the builders and require builders to do all this work
Mhm.
up front or whatever's going to happen. But it also means that the benefit for your average app developer who's pushing up to like a shared host, who doesn't really get into all the patching stuff, like obviously they can just rebuild their stuff, and like maybe that's still the easiest path that most app developers would take. But it just means that the math is a little different for that sort of customer. You know, they don't have a repository where they're baking golden images today and
Yeah,
how to
I
make
think
it build
anyone
to
who would
automate.
even be using this, you know, it's like they're I'm going to say they're more of a power user, if you will. Like if you're just going and building a couple of containers with build packs, that's great. But like if you're then going to rebase, like you would be considering, you would consider and probably already be using rebasing. Um, and then this is just going to supplement what rebasing doesn't cover. So um, I feel like I can't think of a user who like I don't know. I feel like the user experience, you know, you have to understand what you're doing basically with this. Like you can't just go and like
Yeah,
assume
it's
it's
very much a
the right thing.
scalpel. It is a, you know, it's, yeah, you're not, I find it hard to believe we would write a pack, you know, rebase GitHub action that would be able to do this in any automated way that we would be able to pass the sniff test for most users. And so I do think that it's a, yeah, you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna read through. I honestly think reading through this is gonna help me understand a little bit of the underlying mechanics too, since we've just been building custom images and things for so long. Um, Personally, like this is, I'd almost expect that inline build packs was the starting point, and then the build packs are an optimization. It's like I need a single package for this. It's compiled. It's there. It's the build pack. Um,
Yeah,
so
but
like the
inline
inline's
build
like an
packs are not very
exploded view, but
portable. Yeah, yeah, which is, you know, part of the problem. Like for here, if you used inline build packs, this would almost give you no benefit ever, because there's just no. I mean, I guess you could, but like because it's all the same build pack and the same version of the build pack, like I'm not sure that you would ever that this would ever make sense for inline build packs, for instance.
right. I mean, at least inline build packs, you could tag a specific version of one of the packs, right?
Yeah.
And if your pack is really just singular
Yeah.
purpose and you have many packs, they become layers in theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is cool.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I've got to bounce to another meeting, but thanks so much. It was a very entertaining discussion today. So we will not be here next week. So if it's on the calendar, assume that it's not going to be here because it's KubeCon. Most of the people are going to be watching or consuming content or being there. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that I will not be here next week, even though I'm not at KubeCon. So feel free to show up and chat, but I won't be here running it. So
You guys have a
what it
booth?
brings. Yes, we do. Yeah, we're at the
Buildpack
they
booth,
should-
right? Project
yeah,
Pavilion.
the Buildpack booth. Yep, and they've got I think there's a couple talks related to Buildpacks happening next week. So check those out. And the people giving the talk, I think, are Joey Brown and Joe Kuttner, but it might be Joey Brown and Aiden. I actually don't remember who the two people giving the talk are, but Terrence Lee will also be there. So
Cool. I'll go accost the booth.
that's right. Do it. All right. Tell them I sent
Thanks,
you.
guys.
All right. See ya.
Good to
All right,
meet you.
guys. Yeah, you too. Thanks.